Of course, these are not our real names, but I seem to explain some things better with analogies, metaphors, and as a narrative. I do not know if I need a disclaimer, but all of this is from my point of view. Therefore, it is afflicted with my bias. I do not know what to do, and I am extremely conflicted. As there are characters in any story, conflicts, climax, and resolutions, the reality is that there is always more. Whether it be more depth to a character, more history, or more challenges. In this story, I am Jack. My wife is Jill. Jill did not think she was going to fall in love or find anyone she would ever want to marry again. A single mother of 2 kids who had recently divorced a violent, narcissistic husband. She met Jack when she was 23. Jack returned home after his enlistment in the military and while working as a cook, ran into Jill through a friend both had known for years. They immediately hit it off as friends then to friends with benefits. After a year of hanging out constantly, both sides catching feelings, Jack felt it was time to share how he truly felt with Jill. Jack had never done this before. Jack had asked dates out, but not one that was a single mother. Miscommunication, his intentions, ugly crying and face-to-face with Jill, Jack shared that he did not want to be friends. He was trying to communicate that he wanted to be more than friends. Jill somehow understood. They became exclusive. Jack and Jill were seen together and moved in with each other. Jack began taking the responsibilities of a step-parent and as a new parent. Jill began to trust Jack as he began to show his care and love as a family unit. They began to tackle challenges together as a parenting team and as a couple. As a family, Jack and Jill began to talk and plan about the future and what would be best. Jill insisted that Jack go to school and get his degree, which the military will assist with as he was a veteran. Jack resisted, as he wanted to be around for his 2 sons and his girlfriend through life moments. Jill and Jack discussed more, and they would be able to have more enjoyable opportunities, with one of them having a better quality occupation. Then it was agreed. Jack was going to college. As it was another challenge juggling time to study and get schoolwork done while meeting credit requirements for financial assistance, Jack began the steps to getting his engineering degree. Jack had to spend a lot of time away from the family to work with fellow students on schoolwork, projects, studying, and more. Jack always made it clear that he was going to be home for dinner and to watch the boys in their school sports and activities. The impossible was becoming very possible, struggling to make ends meet while trying to improve their children's quality of life. Jack and Jill were motivated to improve their children's quality of life as Jack's and Jill's youth was dysfunctional and abusive. Jill began to feel left behind. Hearing about the positive impact and motivation it was giving Jack, she began to get educated and licensed with the state for insurance. Jill caught on quickly navigating the complexities of the insurance world. She got the corresponding license and certifications needed. Because this made her valuable in her field and in the area, Jill was able to get better pay and benefits at a different agency. Jack and Jill lived in Smalltown. The other agency was an hour-long drive to Metroville. Jill was excited, and Jack wanted Jill to be happy. So after much discussion and compromise, Jill was going to work at the agency in Metroville. Jack and Jill discussed saving on gas, travel, and other things that Jill should stay down in Metroville with her sister on the weeks they did not have their sons home. Their sons alternated weeks between Jill and their biological dad. Jill made the drive every day from Smalltown to Metroville and back when it was Jack's and Jill's week with their sons. Jack had now been in school for 2 years, halfway there. Jack and Jill's mutual friend that they met through, Jane, was visiting from across the country. Jane was going to surprise Jill first at her agency. Jack and Jane had planned this surprise. Jane walked into the agency and saw Jill kissing someone else. After the awkwardness and some questions, Jane felt it was important to call Jack and tell him about it. Jill had called Jack first and told Jack that she had made a mistake kissing a client. Jill explained that the client, John, mistakenly took Jill's generosity and helpfulness as more than just kindness. Jill apologized profusely to Jack, saying it was her fault. If she hadn't leaned over her desk to hand John the insurance documents, the kiss probably would have never happened. Jill admitted that was also the moment Jane arrived at the agency and saw Jill and John kissing. Jack forgave Jill as this seemed like an accident, and Jill contacted Jack right away. After the phone call, Jack received a phone call from Jane sharing a very similar story, except she was pretty sure she heard Jill tell John before they kissed that Jill would see John later. Jack told Jane that she must have misheard and that Jill had already called him sharing a very similar story. So, Jack shrugged it off and went about things normally when Jane and Jill both arrived from their drives from Metroville to Smalltown. They all reminisced about old times and what everyone was up to now. 3 months go by. Things continue like clockwork. Jack goes to school. Jill works at the agency in Metroville. Every other week, the boys are home. Jack begins to get some strange texts about seeing Jill out with another man in Metroville. The messages say, it looked like they were holding hands. It looked like they were more than friends. Jack knew her job at the agency involved taking some clients out to lunch. At least that was what Jill told Jack. Jack explains this to the messengers and witnesses. Jack thinks that Jill is doing her job and shrugs it off. Jack gets some startling messages from Jill the following week. Jack, can you please come by? Some guy is stalking me. He lives all the way in Smalltown. Jack takes this very seriously because it is from Jill. Jack knows he is an hour away from her. Jack suggests, should I call the cops to come by until I get there and we can share with them what is happening? No, Jack, I am scared. Can you just come to Metroville, please? Okay, Jack obliges. I will be there as soon as I can. During Jack's drive, he is receiving messages from Jill showing messages from this person saying things like, at 5 bells, we can finally be together. I will be there soon. Leaving now, Jack is extremely concerned. Jack arrives at the agency in Metroville, and Jill runs up to him like a hero rescuing the maiden in a familiar fairy tale. The time came for the person to arrive. No one walked through the agency door. Jack continued to wait with Jill. Jack asked Jill questions while they waited. Are you getting any more messages? Does he know that we are going out? Thank you for coming, Jack. No. No more messages. I told him, Moe, that I already have a boyfriend. Moe said that he didn't care because we weren't married. An hour passed. 2 hours passed. No arrival from Jill's messenger, Moe. Okay, ready to go home, honey? Jack asks Jill. Yes. So Jack and Jill drive to Smalltown in their separate vehicles. While driving, Jill calls Jack. Jack, could you stop at Moe's home and tell his wife in Smalltown that he was stopping to see me? He has a history of doing this. She may lose her crap on me. Jack responded, how do you know where Moe lives? Moe's wife and I used to hang out when my ex-husband and him hung out. Moe even did this then. Jack obliged. Seemed logical enough. As Jill headed home, Jack took a detour to Moe's house. Jill assured Moe would not be home and that Moe's wife would be. Jill said Moe's wife would be more amicable with Jack because she does not know Jack. Jack knocked at Moe's house door. A woman answers, holding a baby. Jack assumed this was Moe's wife. Jack shares what Jill was going through and some of the messages that were screenshotted and shared with Jack. Moe's wife starts sobbing. Jack hears, not again, softly. Awkwardly, Jack says goodbye while walking back to the car to head home. Jack shares what transpired with Jill. I do not think Moe will be bothering you anymore. Thank you, Jack, Jill says with a thank you hug. 3 more months pass. Again, returning to the normal day-to-day, week-to-week like clockwork. Jack starts getting messages about Jill being out with another man. Jack responds to all of them with, that is a part of her job. And the more the messengers pressed, Jack would respond confidently that Jill would tell him if something was happening. Jack told the messengers that they were reading things out of context. The next 6 months, Jack started to pay more attention. Jack saw orders on their Amazon account for things that never arrived at Jack's and Jill's home in Smalltown. Things like a bunk, blankets, and potty training books. The oldest son was starting junior high. The youngest son was in middle school. These orders didn't make sense to Jack. Their sons also had their own rooms with their own beds. The orders especially did not make sense after seeing that they were even delivered to an address in Metroville. Jack brought up the orders and purchases to Jill. Jill shared that they were delivered to her sister's address in Metroville. Jill said she ordered those things for her sister because Jack and Jill had Amazon Prime. Jack commented that he did not know Jill's sister had kids, let alone young ones. Jill explained that the bunk beds were a gift to her other sister. The book was a copy of a book read to Jill as a child, and she wanted his sons to have a copy to read to their children. Jack nodded and accepted Jill's answers. At about the 5th month of these 6 months, Jack has been in his head. Why would people say this about Jill? Do others not trust Jill? I need to trust her, or how is this relationship going to work if trust is one-sided? Jack began to hear other comments that started to chip away at his loyalty. Where are all your guys' pictures together on Facebook? Why is Jill's status single now? Are you guys together anymore? This was a lot to take in for Jack. Had Jack been living in denial? Jack began searching on his Facebook account. Any picture with Jill was gone or untagged. Jack checked Jill's page for photos of them. Nothing. It was like their relationship never existed according to the digital world. Jack and Jill had been together for 4 years at this point. Jack began to get anxious as what-ifs, coulda, woulda, shouldas, and his own stubborn pride and ignorance caused this. Was Jack's relationship with Jill even real? Was Jack delusional? Jack was scared that his world, his relationship, and possibly his family was all a well-thought-out manipulation. Jack began to gear his attention to what Jill was focusing her attention on. Jill would sit on the phone for hours in their driveway when she returned from Metroville. The boys would ask, "Who is that?" when Jill was on the phone, and she would respond with "Mommy's friend, Auntie," or "Mommy's work." Jill always had her phone face down and would hurry to it if it was out of her reach and Jack was near it. Jack did not want to do anything bad or break the law, but when put between a rock and a hard place, it put Jack in a tough position. Jack went to Metroville one midday to surprise Jill with some flowers. Jack thought if she was being unfaithful, he would somehow catch Jill, as it seemed Jill was out to lunch, or lunch was delivered to Jill. When Jack arrived, flowers in hand, Jill runs outside of the agency. "What are you doing here, Jack?" "This is quite the surprise. I just wanted to remind you how much I care about you, Jill. Can we go inside to your office and talk? Actually, I am with a client right now. Maybe next time let me know if you're coming, please." "Okay, so I should just head home." "Well, yeah, goofball, I have to work the rest of the day." "Okay, see you at home." Jack was still unsure. Jack had no actual proof she was being unfaithful, but everything else did not add up. Seeing as kindness didn't work on the rock, it was time for Jack to lay the hammer down. He did not want to compromise his honor. Jack logged into her Facebook account. Unfortunately, it was the same password Jill used for everything else. And it was like a tornado. You can prepare for it. You can even see it coming. You can be trained for it. But in those moments, sometimes the overwhelming panic and fear take hold. All the pictures of her with John, John's family, John's kids, and then the messages with John. They were at the point that they were telling each other that they loved one another. This sent Jack into a dark, spiraling hole. Jack began drinking. He was so overcome by hurt and pain that he did not know what to do. He reached out to a couple of friends just venting. One of his friends came over to calm Jack down. After Jack's friend left and Jack had calmed down, Jack began messaging Jill. "Hey, where are you? What are you doing? I am with my sister at a theater. We are about to watch a play. It is the second showing. At 9 o'clock at night. Yes, picture or it didn't happen. The image Jill sent back was a selfie with a theater stage and curtains in the background. Okay, checks out, lol, can you come home please? I have something important I want to tell you. Can you tell me after? No, this cannot wait. Just tell me over the phone, Jill commanded frustratingly. Nope, please, no. Okay, fine, my sister wasted a ticket, happy. I am happy you are coming home, yes. She tried to get it out of me on her drive back to Smalltown. When she arrived, I turned the laptop towards her with the messages. Don't worry, I took pictures of everything. Jill stood there speechless. So, what do we do now, Jill? You broke into my Facebook. I just typed in your usual password and it worked. You didn't seem like you wanted to be with me. Of course I do. What would make you think that? You never proposed, Jack. We have been together and lived together for what, 4 years now? Hold on, you said you were okay with that. That we would get there when it felt natural. Yeah, because you weren't taking any initiative that you wanted to marry me. So you were just trying to start a life elsewhere instead of ending it with me. Do your kids know? Does your sister have any kids? Jack was shooting out questions before they could get an answer. Jill was just yelling. Jack could not make out any of it through all the thoughts and noise. Jack was not listening. Jack was hurt and wanted answers to what seemed obvious to the world. Jack continued, "You were just trying to erase me, huh?" After the dust settled, Jack proposed to Jill. Jill accepted. They officially got married 2 years later. This was the same year Jack graduated, and Jack got his first engineering job in Borderton, 5 hours away from Smalltown. Jack and Jill bought their first house in Borderton that year as well. Their sons continued to alternate as shortly after COVID ended up making things remote. Jack was doing well at his engineering job, and Jill was being promoted fast at the Borderton Hospital for as hospital staff, leaving insurance behind. Those 2 years they lived in Borderton seemed like a breath of fresh air, a new start. Due to legalities with the children's custody, Jack and Jill had to return to Smalltown. Jill took this opportunity to pursue education in the healthcare field and get her degree. Jack began working remotely and would hold down the finances. The decree stated that the boys had to graduate from Smalltown schools. So, to make light of a challenge, Jack and Jill sold one of their vehicles to move back up, joined a gym together, and started to prepare for their future. Jill started working as a barista at a coffee shop that was near the college she was attending in Vincity. So, while she was not in school, she took hours there. After her first struggling through her first academic year as a non-traditional student, she also wanted to check off an item on her bucket list: participate in a pageant. Jill shared with Jack that maybe she should join a gym closer or in Vincity as she schools and goes to the gym there. Made sense to Jack. As the pageant approached and Jack supported and helping Jill prepare for it, Jack began having another sneaking suspicion. Jill kept her phone screen hiding away. She even got one of those privacy screens. Jack thought he was imagining things again. As Jill's attention fell to her phone, Jack was desiring relationship attention. He resorted to social media and NSFW content. Jack enjoyed the attention he was getting showing himself off, but the attention was not filling his cup for intimacy, attention, or a healthy relationship. The day of the pageant arrives and Jill wins the pageant. She shares her victory on her social media channels. Jack checks their shared Facebook account and see the people she is thanking. Jack is not on that list. Jack notices he is also not in any of the photos. Jack confronts Jill with the preface that he is not trying to open old wounds. Jill says that Jack is overreacting and that people should know they are married and together. She also adds that she takes pictures with Jack all the time. She even tries to prove herself by making the background on her phone Jack's picture. Even with a shared page, Jack feels like he is being cast aside. He is only being used as a means to an end. Jack isn't stupid. He knows she can make other pages and accounts and do whatever. Jack hurts because the distrust is just digging deeper. That love, that desire, that yearning, that kind of care is what he is searching for and cannot seem to get it from his pail of water. He has been too busy helping Jill up, holding all the pails and never filling his with water. It is like Jack is punishing himself to forever climb that hill like Sisyphus's uphill battle, never getting the drink himself. Jack feels that if he is honest with Jill, it will fill up his pail. Jack comes clean about showing himself across social media outlets, seeking physical attention and admiration. Jack knows that this is wrong and feels that if he clears his conscience of the guilt, things will feel better. Still no water to drink. Jill acknowledges Jack's behavior and forgives him for it. Some time goes by and again Jack's suspicion rears its head. Jack confirms this by finding searches on Jill's laptop that were along the lines of how to get a younger guy to make the first move. How does an older woman get the attention of a younger man? He is married. If I am married, is cheating okay? Jack again confronts Jill with this. Jill denies it and says that it must be the oldest son using the computer because he asked to use it one time. Another cycle of suspicion, and Jack feels like he is losing. Jack doesn't want to lose, Jack just wants to be noticed, celebrated, appreciated. Jack knows the boys are a priority, but a relationship should be too. I remember hearing a quote somewhere, "The children are important, but when it comes to a lasting marriage, your spouse and you should be number one." This resonates with me. The kids will grow up, move out, and experience life without their parents, but a lasting relationship requires both to be present with one another, or something along those lines. It looks like Jill is continuing to get attention from outside of the relationship. She is climbing that hill with other boys. Jack falls back to social media attention. Maybe Uno fans will be a healthy distraction. I share my body. I could get a few dollars from it. Jack thought that by letting Jill know he was doing this on unoffens, she would be okay with it. Jill gave Jack the permission and freedom to do so, maybe to keep his attention elsewhere instead of on her. Jack gets excited when Jill even sends him a picture. Even more so when Jill asks if he wants to take one together or be in a photo. People should not get that excited over a simple photo. Jack then began to try getting what seeking intimacy along another avenue. Jack decided he was going to have an online affair or a long-distance affair or some type of affair, as that would leave Jill hurting. Jill would feel the pain that Jack felt. Jack had a for sure thing. He had someone who he was honest with about being married, and this person he was planning to have an affair was okay with it. Jake still felt guilty because he felt it was a domino effect in the wrong direction. Jack wasn't going to feel happier by doing this. Jack canceled the affair plans with the other person as he was not comfortable, felt like Jill would find out or not even care. Even then, Jack felt guilty perusing sites for infidelity. Another secret, an unquenched thirst. Would Jill care? Would she blame me? Would she blame the other person to keep me around until one of us dies? Would she make it out to be my fault and her the victim? Jack tried to get Jill's attention by saying he wanted to die. This way, he could leave Jill and the boys with money to leave Smalltown again. However, Jack never had a plan. Jack felt better as he finally acknowledged that he was drowning, drained, and tired of doing this over and over again and getting nowhere. Dehydrated, empty. Jack even started going to therapy, and even the therapists were wondering why he would even stay with someone like that. Jack also suggested couples counseling because Jill always said that no one is leaving until one of us dies. It sounds like a trap. It sounds like Jack is a possession, and when used up past his expiration date, sayonara sucker. Everything seems so apparent to the outside world. Maybe Jack was piling on complications on top of a very obvious resolution to all this. No one is innocent in this. Jack and Jill have been married now for 4 years and together for 12 years. Did the story need to go this in-depth with the story? Probably not. Jack has sure understands why people feel trapped in relationships. So much can be speculated and interpreted. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Story 2, everyone else except myself in this story lives in Asia. US laws do not apply. I'm sharing this story on the internet because there's just way too much going on recently and I need to vent. Where do I start? From when my Uncle John met her ex-wife Barbara the narcissist. That was 15 years ago, so they were 40 million and 25F. John just divorced his ex-wife Sherry not long ago. And my grandfather, John's dad, was terminally ill. John had been running his small business for almost 10 years at that point, and Barbara grew up in a rural area, looking to sell herself to the highest bidder. I know how misogynistic this sounds, and believe me when I say it as a feminist. Anyways, John and Barbara met and rushed to get married so that my grandfather could meet their child before passing away. He ended up passing away 3 months before their daughter, Lily, was born. Their wedding was very small scale. When Lily was born, Barbara had joined John's company as an employee. To say that their personalities were not a great match would be an understatement. I don't think John had ever lied to Barbara. He simply does not know how to lie about his true wealth, but as an employee in the day-to-day operations of the company, Barbara quickly found out that her dream as a SAHW was impossible and that she had to keep working. I'm not exactly sure when her resentment started to build, but by the time they got a divorce, here are the things that she would spew on repeat. He owed her a big wedding. Because she rushed to marry into this family, she deserves financial compensation for the big wedding she never had. He owed her money big time because she gave him a child with her young, beautiful body, which he gained with deception. He never respected her decisions about the small business and would often consult with my mom, John's older sister, instead. And as a result, John and my mom must have an incestuous relationship. John, being the stoic and emotionally numb man he has always been, endured this marriage for 10 years for Lily's sake. During these 10 years, John and Barbara fought constantly, verbally and physically. Barbara would occasionally hit Lily, but more often than not, she was, and still is, using Lily as an emotional outlet, crying to Lily how unfair John's side of the family had been to her. Lily grew up witnessing emotionally unstable or immature parents fighting against each other all the time and often trying to create peace between them. Needless to say, she was parentified from a young age. Lily, a sympathetic kid, sided with her mom whenever her mom asked for money, leaving John feeling betrayed and hurt. To this day, he would talk about how Lily and Barbara ganged up to extort him. They finally got a divorce 3 years ago. Barbara told John out of the blue that she wanted a divorce. John kept asking if there was an affair, to which she kept denying until pretty much the day before they were going to finalize the divorce. She admitted to having an affair partner. John asked if there was anything that could change her mind. She demanded $200,000 or else she would happily go through the divorce. We later found out that her affair partner was also a small business owner who might have initially promised her marriage but later backed out because Barbara demanded a full package. A wealthy life for not just herself, but also her parents and Lily. At this point, Lily had just turned 10. She was constantly anxious and sad and took it really hard. About 3 months later, Barbara came back begging John to get remarried. John was hesitant at first, thinking how much this would mean to Lily. My mom talked him out of it. John had never stopped thanking my mom for talking sense into him. Barbara kept demanding money beyond court-ordered alimony, and based on what I've gathered from Lily, the majority of the money went into funding her own lifestyle. She would then perform in front of Lily how she wasn't eating much in order to pay her cram school tuition. Whenever Lily was feeling unwell, she would defer hospital visits and tell John to take her instead. Please remember that this was happening in an Asian country where healthcare is cheap and accessible, and same-day walk-in visits are the norm. or straight up accuse Lily of stirring up trouble. Lily is also not innocent in this regard, but her actions are more understandable. John often feels like he has to take Lily out to fancy restaurants or buy her things for Lily to want to meet up with him. I have not directly asked Lily why she does this, but she has always been worried that John no longer loves her, and this might be her way of demanding proof of love. Also, John had probably never told her in a calm way that he felt like she was bankrupting him. He either gave in to her demands or lashed out. Lily has received zero financial education from her parents. The reason behind her worries is John's new girlfriend Sarah, who is the same age as Barbara. Do you see the pattern here? Sarah had a tough childhood but managed to get into good schools by working extra hard. Lily was not ready for John's new relationship and was extremely embarrassed when John showed up to her school with Sarah. John and Sarah also did not hold back being smitten in front of Lily. Finally, Barbara and Barbara's mom were talking shit about Sarah, how she stole Barbara's man in front of Lily all the time. All of these things led to Lily cursing Sarah out on the street when they ran into each other, calling her bitch, among other names. They immediately got off on the wrong foot. Sarah saw Lily as a lazy, evil, greedy child who was 100% like her evil, greedy mother. There were many things that Sarah did to help Lily with school work, but Lily had never felt safe around Sarah because Sarah would always find opportunities to criticize her, hoping to change her into a better kid. Where do I come into this story? Well, born into a family where boundaries are not a thing, I've had these roles. John and Barbara's marriage counselor when I was 20, John's business brainstorm buddy throughout my 20s, John's part-time therapist to address his sense of failure and to explain why he largely saw Lily as a failure when I was 30, and always Lily's family therapist. Whenever I visited family, I would take some time to see her. I signed up her for weekly singing lessons online. 1 month ago, I had just signed myself up to be Lily's math tutor, and this was made possible by the temporarily cordial relationship between my mom and Barbara, who seemed to have stopped thinking about the incest that she was imagining. Lily had turned out to be a kind-hearted, considerate, extroverted kid who really wanted to improve her grades. There was a chat group with Lily, Barbara, John, and my mom to talk about her study plans. It was all peaceful, and I thought things were finally normal. Here goes the weight loss bootcamp saga. The spring semester ended, and we found out that Barbara signed Lily up for a weight loss bootcamp. The program would consist of 4 hours of daily cardio, 16/8 intermittent fasting, and some unknown weight loss supplements. Barbara sent Lily to my mom's for a few days to see Grandma, who is also my grandma. Lily and my mom went swimming, and her lips turned purple just a few laps in. Out of an abundance of caution, my mom took Lily to the hospital for an EKG which showed arrhythmia. After learning more about the program from Lily, which she was initially reluctant to share because Barbara told her to keep everything as a secret, my mom, John, and I all became extremely worried about her. Lily was also scared of the consequences after I explained to her how the heart functions in the body. She asked me to join her on a phone call to break the news to Barbara and to ask for an extension, going in 2 weeks instead of 3 days. Barbara was furious when she heard my recommendation to the point where she rear-ended someone. She later blamed us for making her rear-end someone and said that she would make the best decision for Lily. Then she called my mom to say how my mom broke up their marriage and how she and Lily were financially struggling because of her. My mom grew a spine and responded calmly, "You know exactly how your marriage fell apart." John was satisfied, seeing Barbara's response in the chat group. He thought that Barbara would share the exam reports and diagnosis with the boot camp. I was like, hell no. I called several local government offices to report the boot camp for taking underage participants and found a lawyer to draft a legal letter outlining Lily's medical diagnosis. The boot camp contacted us, and said that upon receiving the letter, they had decided not to accept Lily as a participant, which means that Barbara never shared Lily's diagnosis with them. At this exact moment, Barbara and Lily were already on a 15-hour train to the city where the boot camp was located, and they had to turn around. I can imagine how Barbara was fuming. Since then, I had been unable to reach Lily. We promised to keep learning math in the summer, but when I asked her when she would like to start, she never responded. At first, I thought she was enjoying her summer. She was taking online singing lessons with the teacher I found for her, which meant she must have some kind of internet access. Then I thought that maybe her mom brainwashed her into thinking that John's side of the family are the bad ones, and I was actually sad and furious about this possibility. Finally, just 2 days ago, I found out from her singing teacher that she has been banned from contacting us. Any message to us, myself, John, or my mom, would lead to endless verbal abuse. Barbara checks her chat logs every day and is constantly home watching her. John had also tried to contact her for a week with no response. I'm trying to establish some sort of communication with Lily by telling her to message me and delete them on her end, sending her Harry Potter-themed pictures embedded with questions about her well-being in English. It feels like a spy novel, and I feel like I can't explain this to anyone because it's too absurd. There are a lot of details that I'm omitting here, but you probably have questions. Why is John not doing anything? Well, he's emotionally hurt from Lily's past extortions, and also doesn't believe that Lily wants to live with him long-term. I don't fault him for feeling this way. Lily had never been a smart kid and had always been manipulated by Barbara so badly. Why am I so involved? Because I love Lily almost as a sibling and a daughter and see her potential of becoming a kind, gentle, good person. Age-wise, we are one generation apart, but I can relate to her struggles with feeling unloved, feeling worthless, and ADHD.